طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So again, the question of like proving the divine concept of Godship or the fact that there is a God or not. Again, we said people went to a lot of different approaches and they had different ways of doing this or proving this. So again, there is just the pure logical one, which was more popular in the history of philosophy. And then the Dalil al-Ibda' that we taught about, the reflecting on this life and come up with a conclusion that for sure there is a creator for this magnificent like creation. And people who use just the spiritual route of like the inner self-reflection, and people are just following others in their belief. Those are not the only approaches that people took, but those are among the very famous ones. So again, which one is the best? Which one is the most appealing to you personally?
Creation, like
reflecting on the creation. Okay.
I think a combination of each.
Combination of each. Okay.
So, all of them are valid except the last.
All of them are valid except the last, which is just the mere following of someone. Okay. When somebody asks you personally, why do you believe in Allah? Not why are you a Muslim? Why do you believe in Allah? What would you say? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? What?
Creator.
He's the creator? Okay.
He's worthy to be worshipped.
He's worthy to be worshipped. Okay. But now you are just describing him. We're asking why.
I think just using logical thinking.
Using logical thinking. So what sort of logical thinking you would use for this?
For example, just thinking about time and how it wouldn't make sense if, I don't know, just like time, like when you look at when time started and when time would end, and the whole fact of how like it would just have to be created, because time was something that was created, but Allah created that for us.
Mm-hmm.
He lives outside of time, and just kind of looking at our existence and comparing it to like, would it be something random versus would it be something that's calculated?
Mm-hmm. So you're gonna choose the logical route, and then you would use the time argument, for example, to prove this. That would be your own answer, right? Okay.
For me, it would be more spiritual. Just, I feel like there's just something inside you that knows that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
It's an agreement.
And it's what?
It's an agreement with our fitrah.
It's an agreement with the fitrah. How can you reach that?
Sometimes through science.
Sometimes?
Sometimes through science.
How can you do that through science? So if we're saying that Muslims say that every person has this part of his fitrah, of his innate, that says there is a God, right? This is what Muslims believe in, but not everybody actually realizes this, because we're saying some people their fitrah are clouded and they need to uncloud their fitrah. So in order for them to uncloud their fitrah, what should they do to uncloud their fitrah? Because the reality says that a lot of people who have this fitrah as the way we believe, but they're not Muslims or they do not believe in Allah. A person who denies God, and we believe that the same person, he has in his innate that God exists. What happened to him? Whether there is something wrong with him or our principle of fitrah is not correct. What?
He chooses not to honor the fitrah inside.
His heart is hard.
His heart is hardened. Okay. That's the only reason? So it's there in him, but he just, because his heart is hardened and he doesn't want to believe in this?
I think they just haven't come to that realization, and that they haven't figured out how or why God exists for them. Like it hasn't, like they are wearing a mask and it hasn't been uncovered yet.
But it is in them.
Yes.
Okay. And what is the best way to uncover it? would be reminded?
of God's signs.
Mhm. Oh, so this person will be reminding himself by the signs of God. Okay, what are the signs of God?
Everything around us.
Everything is a sign of God. Do we fairly receive our portion of signs from God?
Do we want to?
Do we fairly receive these signs from God on a personal level? Like everybody receives a sign?
If you look
I mean, is it a fair deal that, okay, God is there, there is sign, and everybody is equally responsible for reaching to that conclusion that God is there? You get what I'm saying? So there are signs for God. Okay, we believe in this. We agree on that. There are signs. But some people realize these signs and some people don't. So the people who do not realize these signs, it's their problem, or maybe the signs are not enough clear to them.
I think there's a role for wahi. So I think Quran is one thing that can uncover the heart and like open the fitra, and that we can only get from the revelation to the Quran. And I think that's kind of one of the ways.
Okay, but we can consider wahi to be one of the signs, right? Among a lot of other signs.
But there's also the written.
Yeah, even the written wahi could be just one sign out of others. And maybe some people who never knew about the written wahi, but they were guided to believe in Allah through another sign, like experience, or like spiritual reflection, whatever the reason is, whatever the sign is. So again, that's the question. So people were fairly given these signs from Allah, some of them through wahi, for example, and some of them through other things. Because technically not every single person will be able to receive the wahi, or not every single person will be able to receive this wahi in the right way. Is this the case?
I don't think it's fair for everyone. So there are some people who are misinformed their entire life about Allah, and either by their parents, their upbringing, or even society.
Mhm.
So not everyone has the same, receives the same message or sees the signs in the same way.
Okay. Do you agree on this?
Denial.
It's what?
Denial. The signs are there,
Mhm.
but chose not to see.
Yeah, the thing
Yeah, but they were misinformed about God.
There were also people that believed
Did what?
they're responsible to search and
It's the responsibility to search. So again, if that's the responsibility, but other people were raised in a good environment and they were told about God all their life, and then they believed in Him. So is it fair that you treat both in the same way?
But remember, all of us have given oath that we believe in Allah before we were born.
But nobody remembers this.
But we have already accepted it, so it's in our favor.
Okay.
It is our responsibility to seek the truth, and also, and you know, one of it is from Allah. Like, I mean, Allah guides whom He wills.
Okay, we can keep going on with this conversation for so long that we have a lot of signs, right? Whether through the wahi, through being in a good environment, through a spiritual experience, through your own readings, through your own logical reasoning, we can have a lot of these different signs. But at the end of the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that we have all these signs. Said, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, and inside yourselves there are signs. إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ, the creation of the heavens and the earth and the differences between the day and night, there are ayat, there are signs for people of thinking. And then he used logic sometimes and he said, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ, were they created from nothing or did they create themselves? So he mentioned all these different signs, but because of only his mercy, he said, and I sent you prophets and messengers. Just in case maybe you are heedless about all of these different signs, you will have someone who verbally will warn you and will tell you, you need to be careful. رُسُلًا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. The messengers are there to give glad tidings and to warn you. Then he said, لِأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى اللَّهِ حُجَّةٌ بَعْدَ الرُّسُلِ. So people will have no proof against Allah in the day of judgment after his sending of all these prophets and messengers. That's why the majority of Muslims, they say, if you've never heard of a messenger, for example, there's no religion that reached you, you're not responsible for all these actions that this religion would dictate for this ummah, for this nation. If you've never heard for example, hypothetically, you've never heard of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'll never be asked about your prayers. You'll never be asked about your siyam or your fasting. And that's why they discuss the people who came right before the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they've never heard of Jesus, for example, and they couldn't catch the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Said, how can we deal with those people? Those people never heard of something. If we can say the science and the logic will be enough for them, so those people are accountable, and they will be punished for whatever thing they missed. But if we say no, it's unfair, and nothing is unfair to Allah. But He said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna be the most just and the most merciful, and these people I'm not gonna like hold them accountable the way I hold others accountable. And then there is an ikhtilaf about the details of this. Okay, like what is the way He's gonna judge them through? That's a different story. But in general, we agreed that they're different because they didn't get enough chance to know about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants them to do. Some people will say, okay, He's gonna judge them about the main concepts of believing in Him and the main articles of faith in general, but He's not gonna ask them about the details of worship. Some people said no, they had to figure it out and they're gonna be asked about everything. Some people said no, they're gonna be completely fine even if they did whatever they did of corruption in this earth because there was no prophet or messenger to talk to them. We had different approaches about this issue, but they all agreed they are different. They have to be like dealt with in a different way than people who knew about the Prophet and who talked to them and who told them about this already and about all these different matters. That was only out of the mercy of Allah. But the intellect that He gave to you was enough for you, hypothetically, to reach to that conclusion. That you need to figure it out. I give you aql, you just think about it, and you need to worship me. That could be the case. That's why this question of why are you a Muslim? So you can believe in God in general, and you can believe in God and be a Muslim too. So why are you a Muslim? That's a question that you need to ask yourself too. Why are you a Muslim? Why do you choose this way of Islam to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through? Okay. So why are you a Muslim? Is it the same answer for why do you believe in God, or that's a different question? Why is it a different question? Because what? Exactly. Other religions believe in God, but they're not called Muslims. So why are you a Muslim?
Not only do you believe in Allah, but you also submit to His commands.
Okay, that's a good point too. You believe in Him and then you submit to His commands. Through the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. But that's the process of the belief. But why are you like this?
We were born
You were born
Muslim.
Muslim?
Yeah, like we were born to Muslim parents, so
Okay.
I feel like this Islam makes the most sense of the Abrahamic religions now because of just the chronological order. So we had Sayyidina Isa before Sayyidina Musa. Now there's Muhammad and he's the next one. So why wouldn't you go to this one? You know what I mean?
Why didn't you go to the one that was before?
Yeah, because that's the old one. There's a new one that came. Why wouldn't you go to the new one? But there's new prophets.
And how do you know that that's the new one is an authentic one?
How do I know?
You said because there's a new religion
Yes.
that came or a new prophet that came, so by default I have to switch to that prophet.
Okay.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But you need to make sure that he's a prophet.
Right. Well,
Right?
He came with the message, and it's the same message, it's consistent with the message.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just saying, "No, I'm the last and final. I'm the seal."
Okay.
So that's the reason.
Okay, so you can say that, okay, if I can be sure that he's a prophet,
Yeah.
so I have automatically to switch to his message.
Right.
Right? Because he said that too. He said, if Jesus or Moses were alive, they would just follow me. Right? But the question is, okay, how do you make sure that he's right and he's the messenger of Allah? That's the question. Okay, so you're a Muslim only because you're born to a Muslim parents? Or you are a Muslim because this is the way you believe in God, and this is the way you believe that I need to live this life in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the only way that pleases Allah is to be a Muslim. And I'm convinced about this. That's why maybe we raised this question before. If you're a Muslim only because your parents are Muslims. If you remember, we mentioned that one of the approaches that we mentioned about proving God is people are Muslims because their community is Muslim, or their country, or their family is Muslim. So is it enough for a person to be a Muslim only because his parents are Muslims? Why? What?
You have to believe.
But I just trust my parents. They tell me about a million other things and I trust their judgments.
But you led you astray, then you follow.
If what?
If they led you astray, you follow.
Yeah. But I trust actually my life with them. And in general, they are good parents and they're taking care of me. And I don't think they will tell me to do something that is bad.
You were given a mind that they can differentiate between right and wrong.
So this shouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, you can't follow blind.
Okay? Yes.
So what happens to your shahada then?
What do you mean?
Like if you were saying to her, I trust my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm Muslim, they're Muslims and I'm Muslim, then the shahada has no meaning. That you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha
Yeah.
illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah has no meaning if you just follow your parents because they're Muslims or Muslim.
Yeah, but they taught me that that's the word that will make me a Muslim. And you need to say it to be a good person. And that's the word that will make you a good person. I just trusted whatever they said.
I will be held accountable by myself and Hasib one about my parents. That's why.
Okay, the accountability is an individual responsibility. Right? This is what you're trying to say. Okay.
But if someone blindly follows Islam because of his parents or the culture, but they follow it properly their entire life, they say the Shahada, they pray, they do all the obligations,
Mm.
and they live their whole life as a good Muslim. And on the day of judgment, that's their answer. Would that still be acceptable?
That was my next question. Okay, so I'm coming to this one. This is a very good question. Okay.
Yeah, so like if someone's Muslim just because their parents are, and it's only like by chance that they're Muslim, their parents could have been Christian, could have been atheist,
Mm.
and they've just been following them, so they don't have any. Like if it's justified for them to follow their Muslim, then why can't a Christian follow their parents? Why can't an atheist follow their parents?
Mm-hmm.
They have no stronger foundation.
Okay. So what is the case with the majority of Muslims?
The born Muslim.
The what?
The born Muslim.
The born Muslims.
Yes.
But they chose to stay Muslim.
They choose to stay Muslim. That's another phrase of the situation. But majority of Muslims are just Muslims because their family are Muslims.
It starts like that,
I'm not talking about kids. I'm talking about people like after they became mature and adults.
For my own case, I was brought up Catholic, Christian, and now I've become Muslim. So when you grow up and you only know one thing, that's all you know. So you don't know anything else. And so you grow up like that. But then at some point you have to make a choice, or you start to learn more things, and then you start to learn a little bit more, and then that's when you finally make your choice.
Okay, perfect. So can it be that there is like over 1 billion Muslims in this world, and it's no way that all those people are just mistaken or misled. So I'm just gonna go for that religion because it has one of the largest numbers of religion. Christianity is larger for sure, but in general, like okay, I'm gonna go for Christianity because there's no way that all those people are just misled or misinformed about religion. Is that a good way of thinking? It is not. It's okay. When you are a Muslim, do you have to be able to provide an answer to this question? When somebody stops you and says, "Why are you Muslim?" You have to be able to provide an answer, or you don't have to. Or maybe you have an answer, but you're not able to express about it.
Because you believe in the oneness of Allah.
Because you believe in the honest of Allah. You mean that would be the response? Okay. What if you really believe in God in a certain way, but you're not able to convey this to other people? Is that a problem?
No.
It's not a problem? So what if that's the case for the majority of Muslims? So do you think a lot of Muslims really don't know why they're Muslims? Or maybe they know but they can't, or not the majority of them are able to express about what they believe? Right? Because we have a lot of people that, we have even illiterate people, but they believe in God in a very certain way, that sometimes are much stronger than a lot of educated people, but they can express about it. Or they would express about it in a way that might appear to you as a superficial way, but in their hearts, it's very firmly grounded that they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is usually the case for a lot of the common average people. They believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very certain and strong way, but just they don't have the language to express about this. But in general, the answer is correct, is that you cannot just be a Muslim because your parents are Muslims. You cannot just follow others in their aqidah or their creed. The scholars established this rule and they said, إِذْ كُلُّ مَنْ قَلَّدَ فِي التَّوْحِيدِ إِيمَانُهُ لَمْ يَخْلُ مِنْ تَرْدِيلِ. Whoever just follows others in their tawheed and their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will never be bereft or pure of doubt. He can easily be shaken about his belief. Right? He can be easily just in doubt about his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And actually, as maybe some of you said, that what if the parents at a point of time decided to switch another religion? You're just gonna follow them? If he will do that, that means he really has no opinion and he just follow whatever his parents are telling him. And as you said also, accountability is an individual responsibility, so everybody will be held accountable in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the scholars of Aqidah discuss this beautiful issue. They said, what is the first obligation the person is entitled with once he reaches the age of puberty? When you are a kid, underage, you're not responsible from a legal perspective. Once you reach or you hit puberty, now you are responsible and you will be held accountable for all your actions. What is the first thing that you have to do? Now you are a mukallaf, you are an adult. What is the first obligation from an Islamic perspective? To know Allah. Okay. To pray. What else? What is the first obligation in life? To think about what? About khalq. Why? What is the purpose of that thinking? What? To revive the fitrah inside of you. So, can we relate this to the answer of to know Allah? So, when a person becomes mature, becomes an adult, he needs to know Allah, right? And he needs to know Allah before he prays. And he needs to know Allah before he does any other righteous act. Because if you do not know Him, you cannot worship Him. We said that before. So you need to know Him first. And in order for you to know Him, you need a process of thinking to know Him. So you need to think, you need to ponder, you need to reflect. You need to understand, why do I believe in Him? Or if you don't know about Him, you need to understand, okay, if He exists, and this is His power and will, so I need to believe in Him first, and to believe in His existence, and to believe in Him in the entity of God in general with all the attributes that He deserves. And then after that, I need to understand, how can I practice my religion? This is the way it starts. And this is the way logic works too. Because again, it doesn't make any sense if you're gonna say, okay, I need to pray, I need to fast, I need to do any other actions, but I still don't know why I'm doing this. I still don't know who is the one that I'm submitting all these things to. That's why when we talk about Aqidah all the time, we have the logic with us, we have the aql, we have this intellect with us. And we said when the Quran talked about proving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or proving the day judgment, or proving death, for example, he would always use logic, and he would always use the observation and the reflection approach that we talked about. These different approaches, the majority of them are already there in the Quran. And this is the way that should be actually applied to people. When you talk to someone, you're trying to convey this message to him, people are different. Some people would prefer the logical way, that I need to be convinced in a logical reasoning, or in an analogy, for example, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. You need to convince me with this. And other people would tell you, I'm just facing a lot of troubles in my life, and I need, he's not saying that, but that's his case, that I need to be addressed emotionally. I need to be addressed spiritually, right? I just need a good environment. I just need to change my environment. People are different in their experiences in this life. And some people, they're very tough-headed, they're stubborn. No, you need to convince me with logic that why does He exist and why do I have to follow Him or to worship Him. You'll find all these different approaches in the Quran. Again, starting from reflections on the creation of the heavens and the earth, talking about the logical way, as the ayah, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ, talking about لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَفَسَدَتَا. if there would be like more than one God in the heavens and the earth other than Allah, they will be corrupted. And that's a logical way of addressing this issue, right? Because the ayah is actually providing a couple propositions of a full analogy, the conditional syllogism as we call it. And you need to just break it down and continue and complete the rest of the syllogism, and then you will come to the conclusion that there has to be only one God. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا. Had there been within the heavens and the earth gods besides Allah, they both have been ruined. Right? What does this ayah prove? Does this ayah prove the existence of Allah? If there is more than one God in this life, it will be ruined. So, what does the ayah prove? What? The oneness of Allah or the existence of Allah? The oneness of Allah. The other ayah, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ, were they created from nothing or did they create themselves? What does this ayah prove? The existence or something else? So one ayah proves existence and one ayah proves oneness, right? So why does the first ayah prove existence? How can you be convinced through this ayah that Allah does exist? Were they created from nothing or did they create themselves?
Because you can't do either.
What?
You could not have created yourself, and you could not be created from nothing. So you became somebody created. And who is that?
Okay. Can anybody make it in well-ordered premises? Categorical syllogism from the first figure. Abdul Malik will do it.
Sheikh, just last week we covered this proof, and he said there are four different scenarios. One is you're created from nothing. One is you created from something created. One is you created from something that's uncreated. One is that you created yourself, and then one is that you created from nothing. He says that you cannot create yourself because you cannot exist and not exist at the same time. You cannot be created from something from nothing because nothing is able to come from. You can't have something coming from nothing, and then otherwise.
Sorry, you can what?
You cannot have something exist from nothing.
Okay.
And then the third one is you cannot be created from something that's created because there's like infinite regression. So like that, who created that person? Then you have to go back. And then the last option is to be created from something uncreated, and that's kind of the only valid option.
Okay, why nothing cannot create something? That was the third option, right? Okay, why you said you cannot be created from nothing? Because nothing wouldn't produce anything. Why? Why it could have just come out of nothing? What? From nothing. Nothing what? Nothing doesn't exist? Are you sure? So this theory that a universe from nothing, why is it wrong?
Random thing that happened.
What? Random what?
Random thing that happened in the universe.
Yeah, maybe just through the Big Bang, just the God developed out of nothing. Yes.
Something can't come from nothing.
What?
Something can't come from nothing.
Can't? Why?
It's just common sense.
Common sense? Okay.
It's like cause and effect. You need something to cause something for an effect. There's no cause, there's no effect. So there's nothing that can happen.
Okay, so one of the impossible options that he's trying to count is the existence of the universe exists, right? The universe exists. That's the premise. You agree on this? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So the universe exists, right? Okay, prior to the existence of the universe, the possibility of the universe to exist, was it like a 50-50 possibility? Or in a different percentage?
There's creators.
What?
There's a creator that created the universe.
Regardless of the creator.
So before the universe was there, what was the chance that the universe being there?
Before I was born, Yusuf, before I was born, what is the possibility of me being born? Is it just 50-50 possibility? Regardless who created me. Is it a 50-50 possibility of me exist or not to exist? Again, regardless of the creator. Now we know by logic that I exist. Right? Do you guys agree on this? Alhamdulillah. So if I say I exist, prior to my existence, there was both possibilities that I can exist or I would never exist. So is it a 50-50? The 50-50 between existence and non-existence. Anything prior 1 and 0, anything prior to existence, it has a possibility of both. I would never come to this life, right? That was possible, that I would never come to this life. And it was possible before my life, it was possible that I would come. So prior to my existence, it was a 50-50 possibilities between existence and non-existence.
The other way to say this is there's no middle path. So you can't half exist and half not exist. It's either exist or not exist, so 50.
Okay, so 50-50, we agree on this?
I think so before you existed, there was the probability was that like most likely you wouldn't exist since you already didn't exist. So maybe you'd be like, I don't know, for example, like 70-30, because you already didn't exist. So most likely you won't continue.
No, you look at it from take out the time frame of the thing. Okay, so I was born 2019, 2018. How do you distribute the percentages between my existence and non-existence?
Well, I would say there's a higher chance that you wouldn't exist.
Why?
Because you already don't exist. So
Yeah, but I can be exist anytime.
But you don't know that.
Huh?
You don't know that it doesn't exist.
Well, I don't know. I thought we were just talking like hypothetically.
Okay, exactly. And hypothetically, I just couldn't have come here and I wouldn't be existed. I wouldn't be created. I wouldn't be come here. If there was no other factor that decided that I will be born, I wouldn't be alive. Right? So why did you make it 70%?
No, I just said 70% to prove that it was like, it can be like 51-49, it doesn't matter. The point is that there's
No, it doesn't matter. Mo. That's numbers that do matter. Mo. That's why we want to decide.
Oh, so what did you say?
The numbers would matter here. If it's 50-50, it's different than 49 and 51.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, for sure, it's different.
Okay. So again, why did you give a priority to non-existence over existence?
Because you already did exist.
When I existed, what happened?
The probability changed that you would exist.
That's why I'm telling you, remove the time frame. Remove the time frame of my birthday.
Okay.
Okay? So don't be stuck with the time frame. Just in general, the possibility of something to exist prior to its existence, if all factors that will make him exist are available, you still have the 50-50 relationship or not. Okay, I will get back to this. 50-50, 70-30. Okay, does it require a third power that would decide this thing would exist or not?
Yes.
Is it a prerequisite for existence? Would numbers matter now if it's 50-50 or 70-30? Are you sure? So let's go by the 50-50 one first. So me to exist or not to exist, 50-50, right? So do we need the third power that would decide, okay, now I would give priority to existence over non-existence? Or I would keep the default situation to be non-existence, I'm not going to create or cause it to happen. Does it require this third power to do it? If we say no, there's no power that has to decide on this. How can we understand the decision that was made to cause my existence or to keep my non-existence the default? We can go by the chance, right? Or we can go by that just out of nothing, right? Or we can go by that just certain way of evolution that would happen, which has to be related to the chance thing at the end of the day. Because if there is no third power that would do this, that means it came out of nothing. That's the meaning of coming out of nothing, right? That's the meaning that you need the third party or power that would decide on two equal possibilities. If there are two equal possibilities, something else has to decide which one takes precedence over the other. That's the meaning of خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. Because prior to their existence in the ayah, the chance of them being created or not were equal. Right? When it happened, they have to think, why did we exist? For sure, someone decided that we need to exist. And then here the series of arguments start. When you realize that, okay, I need to find out who is that one who decided my existence. Because it's impossible that I came just out of nothing. This is the meaning of أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ. And I cannot create myself because it's a circularity, so I cannot just be the reason of my existence, so my existence is dependent on my own existence, which is nonsense. This is the meaning of أَمْ خُلِقُوا من غير شيء هم الخالقون. That's one style in the Quran. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله, it's another style that talks about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there are multiple gods, it will be ruined, right? It will be absolutely ruined, or there is a chance that it wouldn't be ruined. We'll conclude by this exercise. So the ayah is saying, if you have multiple gods, the universe or the heavens and the earth will be ruined and corrupted. Is this an absolute result of the multiplicity of gods, or just like a suggestion that it might actually work out and it wouldn't be ruined? So the ayah is logical. That means it's given a certain answer to this. We're just suggesting suggest a scenario of a problem that would happen out of this, but you still can avoid it.
So if you have multiple aliyah.
Okay, sorry. Can somebody break down the syllogism or the analogy in this ayah? If there are two gods within the heavens and the earth, you will be corrupted. Can we put this as premise one?
Like for the sun, several times. One God will bring it from the east, the other will bring it from the west.
Okay, so number one, we'll put this as premise one in an analogy. So we need two premises and one conclusion. So this premise one, if there are two gods, the universe will be corrupted or be ruined. That's premise one. Before you move to premise two, you need to make sure that premise one is correct first. Because if one premise in the qiyas or the analogy is not correct, the whole qiyas will not be correct. So for a qiyas to be deductive, the two premises have to be 100% authentic. And you need to investigate that. And the way you investigate that in a prior analogy to this. That's why it's a series of analogies until you come to the first principles. This is the way the logic works too. So this first one, if there are two gods, it will be corrupted. Is it true? 100% true? Or it's a high assumption that it's true?
It's an assumption.
Because if we can prove it in one case that is not true, that it can work out actually without no kind of corruption, that means no, it's not true. And it's not going to be productive in this analogy. It's not going to produce a result. It's not going to follow.
What do you have? Two gods and then they agree on everything, then there wouldn't necessarily be corruption.
You're suggesting that's scenario that will work out. So two gods, they agree on everything, so the universe will stay as is and there's no problem. Okay, so that's one scenario. They will agree and there's no problem. Does that invalidate the premise?
Well, agreement here assumes that somebody has to give in to something. You can't. Not every argument will be fine both ways.
Okay, so let's break down all the possible scenarios. So there are two main scenarios. They would agree and they would disagree. Because the ayah is assuming that they would disagree. Right? So if they disagree, that's clear what's going to happen. Okay, the other one is they will agree. Under they will agree, you need to have other scenarios too. Why do they agree on these things?
Because one of them is more powerful than the other.
Okay, that's one option. One of them is more powerful than the other one.
Which in the end leads to one.
Which at the end is still one. Okay, what other possibility? They are afraid of each other. That could be a possible option. Just مش عايزين مشاكل, so just they don't want just cause trouble, so just we're gonna agree because we don't want to have troubles with each other, so they're kind of afraid of each other. That could be possible. Or they love each other and they're good together, so they just gonna whatever everybody would tell them whatever you want, let's just do it. This could be an option. What else? What other scenarios for them to agree? So whether one of them is more powerful and the other one is weaker, they just love each other, as we might claim, they just are afraid of each other. All these things, when you reflect on them individually, you find that it doesn't make any sense because we're talking about God, right? We can say, okay, maybe they agree because they have two different realms and everyone is responsible for a part of the universe and taking care of it, right? This could be one option. In previous nations and religions before us, they used to have this concept. There is the good God and the evil God. There's the light and the dark God. Sometimes more than two. Okay, and then you will go with a series of questions. Okay, so what if the God of evil wants to intervene in something within the realm of the God of good? Can he do that or not? And the other way around. If he can, so what is the point of having the other one? If he can't, so he's actually limited, so he's not God. So you go with all these different scenarios and options, and then hypothetically, we're not going to do this, a full exercise here, you will come up with a conclusion that it's not going to work. Or there is no point. So whether it's not true or it's pointless. Like, oh, they just again agree on every single thing. So what is the point of having two gods? Right? There's no point of having two. The multiplicity has to be justified. Right? This could be a first principle too. There are multiple things, there has to be a reason for this. Having couple identical things in every single thing, there has to be a point of having multiple things. And then you go with the disagreement. If they disagree, you say like one of them wants to create Yusuf and one of them doesn't want to create Yusuf. So who's going to win? If one of them wins, that means the other one is powerless. There is no point of having the other one. And if they keep fighting, the universe will be corrupted. You go with all these different scenarios until you come to a conclusion that, yes, they will be corrupted. So actually, therefore, they're only one God. So last question. How can we frame or phrase the second premise? If there are two gods, they will be, in the heavens and earth, they will be ruined.
If there is...
And since it's not ruined.
What?
If there's two gods, it will be ruined.
It's number one.
And the existence, the universe is not corrupted.
The universe is not corrupted.
So there can only be one.
And there has to be one. The second one is the universe is not corrupted. You agree that's that should be the second premise?
Yes, that should be...
How can you prove the second premise?
There is two gods.
What?
There is two gods.
How can you prove the second premise? That's the easy one.
Observation.
Yeah, observation. We're still here and it's not really fully corrupted. Corrupted means like just it's gone, right? So it's still okay in general. بالمشاهدة, by observation, it's not fully corrupt, it's not fully ruined yet. So that means therefore there has to be only one God. That's one way of the arguments in the Quran. So again, the Quran uses all these different arguments. So sometimes Quran would use argument too, talking to the Christians and the other religions too. Quran would use that. So all these different approaches the Quran would use to prove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to prove his attributes. So we talked about the hukum before, and we need to know about it in the AQIDA class, and you guys should review it in your notes inshallah about the hukum, the rational, the customary, and the legal. And then starting next time inshallah we'll be talking about the 10 principles, the 10 foundations of Aqidah, as we did with the other 2 ulum inshallah. So if you remember, how can we relate this to the hadith Jibreel that we talked about at the beginning? Hadith Jibreel about the 3 questions, the Islam, Iman and Ihsan. The Islam, we covered the main principles of fiqh, right? And then Iman is the Aqidah, which are we covering now. And then the Ihsan, the spirituality, is the self-discipline and the tarbiyah that we'll be covering later after the Aqidah inshallah. Okay, any questions? Usually Aqidah and theology is dry, I know, so it's all some dry concepts, but it is really important to have these questions because you will find yourself asked about these things a lot.
It is very important.
Yeah, people ask about these things a lot.
My daughter was telling me today they asked her in high school, how can you prove the existence of God?
Yeah.
And she's like, I do not.
Yeah, that's a very common question now. Actually, kids in younger age, I got a question from a family a few days ago that a kid is in 12 years old, I think, and I still in the family, how can I know that Jannah and Nar are really things that exist? Maybe you and Baba are just like lying to me. Or just you want to convince me to do things that do not exist. And for sure that's coming from a peer pressure thing. I don't think maybe just from his own thinking that is possible. Sometimes because of whatever conversation that he's having at school. So people are having these questions a lot. So why one of the points maybe we'll discuss next time, these different approaches, what do you think is the most suitable approach to our time? And if we're saying we have multiple things in the Quran and our tradition, And we have multiple philosophical approaches to what is the best thing that you can think that's the best. And the best is a relative thing for sure, but what is the best approach to talk to these people nowadays? Let's keep this conversation for next time, inshallah. So again, this might sound boring in terms of philosophy, but we're trying to have relevant questions that we've been asked about a lot in our modern time and life. Okay, any question before we conclude? Okay, جزاكم الله خيرا. We'll see you inshallah next week at 6 o'clock. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.